Episode commencing in 3, 2, 1. Episode initiated.
This isn't your father's Flash Gordon or your grandpappy's Buck Rogers. No, it's a new kid. Super friendly serial with a teen fresh out of Space Academy. Why, this week's episode is Cosmic Jason of Crit Command. I am your Space Wars and Trek-inspired villainous GM Patrick here, and joining me in saving the universe in short cliffhanger segments are my 5 fellow graduates and space adventurers. To my far left, Jason of Star Command, more like Jabert jabbering away as Jamframand.
Jamfram. Oh, sorry, I cut you off. I thought
no, it's okay. Jamframand, like Star Command, get it?
Hey, there it is.
Across the digital table for me, look out, it's Sid Haig playing a murderous malcontent. Why, it's Myles making believe as redacted.
Good evening.
To my right, joining other science fiction heroes with boring names like Luke, Paul, and Jason. Why, it's Tyler talking us Praedir.
Hello there.
Tyler, Space Commando. To my immediate left, James Doohan ditching this show in a heartbeat to make Star Trek movies. We have Drew dying to play Zilix Thel.
Yahoy.
He was not in the second season. And across from him, that's not an NES robot. It's none other than the mighty Peepoo, a.k.a. Rebecca rolling with Asher and Sky.
Hello.
I like to say Peepoo. Peepo. I don't know how to pronounce his name. There's a robot in the show, and he looks like the NES Rob the Robot.
Oh.
Yeah, this came out before all of us were born, so I don't think we have a lot of connection with this children.
I only know it by name, and I knew that Doohan was in it for a second. I think he had the mustache by that point.
Yeah, I think the only clip I've seen is like Sid Haig in some like outrageous. He kind of looked like a Borg in the clip that I saw, being like a super bad guy.
Sid Haig in Journey to Atlantis, the MST3K, or Beyond Atlantis on the new season of MST3K, a very wild 70s movie, including, what's the old cowboy actor? What's his name?
John Wayne.
John Wayne's son is in that movie alongside
Johnny Wayne.
Yeah, Sid Haig was in a lot of wild movies, and I appreciate Patrick putting me as Sid Haig, knowing I'm the big horror fan.
Yeah, Tyler gets called a boring name person, and Myles gets the horror stuff.
That's true. If I was in a horror movie, I would just be one of the randos that was killed to up the body count. So I feel like that's appropriate.
I mean,
I think he would be.
I don't think Myles or Tyler is a boring name, so like neither of them really fit. Jabert is just the wildest name ever, so like I can't.
Jabert is of wild as well.
Can't do that one.
Truly buck wild names.
Jabert. Guys, let's get back to this week's episode. We left, much like every episode of Jason of Star Command, on a cliffhanger. I guess not literally, but figuratively. Let's first, though, talk about what happened last time on Cosmic Crits. Well, throw this in the show notes here. You guys enjoyed a market day with a new rotating artisan weapons dealer named Alethea Gilchrist Worthington III. Ezra and Shire showed you some posters that Kells put up announcing she is running for prime executive for the colony, forcing you all to run for your current jobs, with you all selecting Praedir to be your speaker, your elected speaker. You found Rigsar Mortis was her campaign manager, and he offered Jamfram in a secret a way to slow down her campaign. Before the first debate, though, you all felt odd, but despite the butterflies, as they lifted, Praedir came out victorious. During the second debate, the same thing happened, but this time only Praedir felt off. And before the last debate, you all realized the horrid secret of what was happening. Kells had been using read thoughts on you all. She knows what you're thinking. She knows all your secrets right before this final debate, which is where this episode begins. But first, tell me what I got wrong and get them re-rolls that you hear so much about. A re-roll.
So I have one, but I don't know whether it's because my app auto-corrected the name or if Patrick said the wrong name. So you said Alethea Gilchrist. Is it Athena Gilchrist Worthington III?
It was indeed Athena Gilchrist Worthington.
Oh, look at you, Drew.
Drew
From
is
down,
coming
down.
this season. You're coming with the last time on trivia here, Drew. What else? You need one more, and you get a.
Actually,
Oh boy.
the spell that Kells Geodrict had been using was not in fact called Read Thoughts, but Detect Thoughts. Patrick, you've been served.
Oh boy. Does anybody else have any others? Because that is correct. So this is just for the English, for the little bit of polish on this. The campaign manager was not Rigzar Mortis. It was indeed Haltharia Grauman, who you have scorned in the past. And I wrote before the first debate, you all felt odd. Not Praedir, though. Praedir saved that first debate, which is probably why you won. You were able to use your rerolls there. Right. So, yeah, when we last left off, I think you had just figured out that she was using this on you and potentially all of your teammates here, Tyler, knows perhaps some of your secrets, what you're thinking. But you've seen like a dozen possible futures of how each of these debates can go. And you know that she is going to sling potentially a lot of mud at you. I mean, besides some of your magic powers, I feel like you've just done a lot of prep over the last 3 weeks. So yeah, you see a future where you win, obviously one where she wins. There's like a split decision almost. That's like a rare one. But yeah, in a lot of them, there's a lot of discord from inside the colony that arises because of what has happened. Not enough to cause riots or anything, but it eventually could lead to potentially slowing the growth for Veridian. But yeah, so yeah, even if you win, there might be some damage, some blowback. Is there anything, knowing that, before you go into this last debate, that you want to do, that you want to say? Is there anything you want to ask your fellow teammates here?
Oh boy, no, I guess no. I mean, he knows what Kells is up to, and I think in his mind he's trying to think of ways to mitigate some of the negative effects, but I don't think he's quite certain what he and his team can do at the moment. I think he would tell everybody what Kells is up to and suggest that they try to close their mind, like calm their thoughts. Just do not try to think about things that you've done or have been up to or things that you want to do, because this is gonna be where personal attacks are gonna be levied, and the less that you bring to the forefront of your thoughts, the less you'll have to work with.
Potentially, she's already done this a couple weeks ago to everybody.
Jamfram's like, I'm not a crook.
Are there any secrets? So you're sharing that she is indeed using detect thoughts. Yeah. Are there any secrets that you players are harboring that you want to bring to light right now? Myles, explain your entire character's backstory, just everything.
Yeah, sure. I guess.
Oh, you got cut off. Your microphone.
It won't let me.
Your microphone's not working, Myles. I see your lips moving, but what is happening? Maybe can you type it out?
Is this thing on? I'm trying, but it's not. The letters are.
Oh boy. Anybody else? Anything you want to bring up? So maybe Praedir is prepared.
Old man, I don't think there's anything, but apologies in advance.
Well, and fortunately, I can see into a few different timelines, and I feel confident in my ability to pivot around as needed out there. But whatever is said, whatever happens, make sure that we do not overreact. We certainly don't get defensive.
Don't pull out any guns.
Don't pull out weapons. Don't try to argue back. The more that she can inflame, the stronger her position will be. So just we will ride through this as a team.
Praedir, can I speak with you privately?
Praedir is almost like shocked that you're the one to come forward. Like for a second there, I think Praedir maintains a pretty neutral face almost all the time. But for like a slight second, you just see like his maybe his pupils change or something, where he's just like, oh no. But of course, yes.
Is there an audible boing sound with as your eyes rock back and forth in your head?
Yeah, exactly.
Oi, 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 oi. I mean, yeah, maybe not that. That's not what I was thinking of, but sorry.
I attribute it to the one thing and one thing only: the sound effect when you wake daddy in the game. Don't wake daddy. Sits up in bed.
Okay, Asher would say to Praedir, I feel that I can trust you. I hope that I can. I hope that I'm not endangering our position by telling you this, but Ezerand, is that his name?
Yeah.
Ezerand Shire told me that there is a spy among us. One of our crew seems to be a mole, possibly leaking secrets to other colonies.
Or maybe an otter. I don't know.
Maybe an otter.
It's one of these two creatures.
Can only be mole or an otter.
I only hope that it's not you and I've just given away everything to the wrong person. But I feel that if they are detecting thoughts on our crew, they may find something that even we are not aware of ourselves.
Well, this is concerning news. As for your concern with my position, I understand your trepidation. If I am indeed a mole or a spy and I am about to become prime executive of the entire colony, that would probably bring pause. But I assure you that right now my only focus is to win this so that we can continue to do what we've done here at the colony. And the good news is we have no evidence. I assume you have no evidence of someone being the spy or the mole, which means Kells certainly doesn't either. As wild and outlandish her claims may be, there's only so much hearsay she can put into her arguments that is going to have an effect. So I think something as outlandish as a foreign spy will probably be easy to shut down. But this is a long-term problem that we will have to discuss more in private. I'm very honored that you came forward with this information.
I hope you're right, and I welcome having an ally and trying to figure out what is really going on. I haven't been able to find any clues yet, but as you know, this group is rather suspicious for a number of reasons, so it's been very confusing, and I've been very alone. So hopefully we can work together.
I'm sure we can, and it must have been stressful walking around with all this information by yourself. Ezerand is a kind man, but not very capable in the acts of subterfuge. At least that is as much as I gather. Luckily, with my ability to see multiple realities, I will meditate on this and perhaps something will reveal itself.
Fortunately, I have Sky to help carry the burden, but yes.
That is true.
Sky pulses in blue light.
Boy, oh God! Pulse sound effect. Praedir doesn't have time to meditate on this because you're wanted on stage. They're playing you on right now. It's time for the final debate in election 3023.
I'm gonna roll 3d20.
Oh yes, for today's rolls. Tyler would be real cool and real dramatic if you rolled real bad.
real bad. Yeah.
Real
three low paradox rolls would
awesome.
Really help out the tension here. A 20 would just really ruin everything.
17's pretty darn good.
That 13, 17, and 8.
Keep the tension going. I'm rolling secretly myself or whatever Kells
has
is doing opposed. Okay. Alrighty, so we're in it. Are there any like salient points that you want to bring up during this debate? It's not so much like questions, but just like topics that you each get to expound on. The basic 5 things, like what are you going to do for the economy? What are you going to do for Accord? What are you going to do for technology? Tell me if you heard this one. Magic is another.
Let's not talk about the complete lack of magical investment I've put into our
What's good? It's like you're not playing favorites, even though you're a magic user. So I got to say that's probably a plus in your column.
Yeah, I mean, I think Praedir would discuss the gains they've made in Accord, the current boost in the economy that we are seeing, acknowledge that there's going to be an expansion of housing that has already been set up due to the great influx of people wanting to come and be a part of Veridian, and how this expansion is going to continue. More and more people are going to want to come to Veridian, and this is a time where we need to keep moving forward, keep being aggressive with our deals and our expansion, and not a time to question who we are culturally and, dampen our economic progress that we've all worked so hard with infighting and internal struggles.
Infighting indeed there is here, because she's doing pretty well in straw polls of people on the street. Kells gets pretty impassioned and makes her main final plea, saying, I just want everyone to know here that you can trust me, you can trust Kells, but unfortunately you cannot trust the founding 5 council here, including Praedir. But
Patrick, are you trying to do a Ben Shapiro impression here? This is working, baby. It's working.
I don't know. I don't know. Oh no, that's like, yep, I don't know. Yeah, that would be, I have to go like higher and rattier.
Okay. Yeah, right. Yeah, that's true.
Let's don't insult rats.
I forgot her voice. Oh yeah, Kells. Come, Kells Deirdre. I want people to know here that maybe didn't know this. You all killed my friend Balco Unktar, but I have forgiven you for that. Something was wrong. I think people understand that there was some kind of accident. So I forgive you, Praedir. But what I won't forgive is your colleague, your friend, Redacted, breaking into my domicile in the dead of night and probing the dead body of Balco without permission.
There it is. There's the dead body probing.
I swear on my life that Gray will do whatever he wants, whenever he wants. What do you have to say to that? You're going to defend him? Is that right?
I agree. I got to make sure I don't fall into too much of a political cadence here. Let me try that again.
Well, how about you call her out for using improper pronouns for Redacted?
I believe
that is hate speech.
Sorry,
it's too easy to fall into that cadence.
Redacted broke into my building, and Redacted. Well, he called you the Gray, or she called you the
Gray. Yeah.
Also said him. A mistake I make very frequently.
Tyler, you've got the cadence for many politicians. I think you need to just work on that Praedir voice.
I agree that my colleagues' actions were far, far beyond what could be called out of line. I think, from what I understand, there was a desire to seek answers which only could be found by doing an autopsy on the body, which was denied. I believe that Redacted's actions were in the best interest of the community as a whole. I still do not think that it was right to trample over the well wishes and decisions by Kells.
So you're saying if you had evidence and for a fact that Redacted, say, committed a crime, then you would want to see Redacted prosecuted, perhaps exiled from the colony. Is that right?
I would say if there is evidence of a crime, then he should be afforded what all citizens are afforded, a trial, and if found guilty, a punishment that was suitable to the crime that had been committed.
Exile. A projector and screen off to the side of the seats here is pulled up by Heltharia Gromman with like a real wide pee-poo eating grin on her face. I also believe that I have evidence here submitted by a loyal colonist that Redacted perhaps is none other than the leader of this terrorist organization of people here in the colony. Folks are calling the cult of the Naman. Heltharia, play the video if you will. Indeed, it shows, it's like black and white. It's very, night vision-y security footage of what looks like Rigsar Mortis's pavilion tent. And we see both Redacted and Zilix, I believe, was part of this caper, spray painting the symbol of the cult on the outside of the tent. Just spray paint the side.
This.
It's from episode 274. So it's a little whiles back. Couple episodes.
Wait, what did we do?
It's only like 4 episodes again. This was actually Tyler's idea. I don't know if it was Praedir's idea, but it was definitely Tyler's.
It was definitely my idea.
Just to spray paint the symbol of the cult on the side of the tents to get people to stop potentially buying these trinkets, these shields of the Gnomon. There's shock, there's awe, there's gasps in the audience seeing this. And you hear the scuttlebutt.
They should have never put us in charge of a colony.
I was about to say, I got
we should have
so
thought
much.
way more. Patrick, can we restart the campaign as Kel and like her friends? Because they're probably much better.
Probably better.
I have a ton of evidence, a ton of dirt on everyone except Praedir, actually. So it's kind of
look at that! I'm definitely not the mole.
That sounds like a mole.
That's what the mole would say.
Oh no, you got me.
Do you think Praedir has anything to say for this?
To say, absolutely.
Okay.
Praedir would look at the video and say, it does seem that you have caught both Zilix and Redacted in the art of graffiti, and that is certainly a punishable crime. Your conjecture that they are a part of this rising cult or the leader, that does not have substantial evidence based on your video. However, it is still a crime to deface private property, and so that will have to be dealt with accordingly. I do not think that the people here, whether they be my colleagues or friends, are above or beyond our laws. They should be held accountable, just as we all should.
So what you're saying is if there were other crimes that your compatriots committed, that you would want them to step forward now and tell the people what they did to seek justice before them. Because right now, you all are doing whatever you want, whenever you want. And I think the 5 of you are a liability for this colony. Oh, a big liability. Praedir, I've extolled on the number of reasons that you and your allies should be disqualified for running this colony in any capacity. But I'd like to hear what reasons, if any, you think I would be a bad Primex, a bad choice. After everything's said and done here, how am I the worst choice between the 2 of us, seeing as the company you keep has already racked up a string of crimes, even if half of what I said is true?
What is Kel's job in the
part of the communications team with Belko and maybe some others, communications with other colonies, communications from Absalom.
So essentially a part of the same team where the whole communication building got exploded.
I mean, it was really just the tower, maybe some of the electronics, but yeah.
I believe that leaders talk a lot more about what they can do than anything else. Kells, in the time that we've been here, while I applaud your efforts as a part of the communication team, it is true that in comparison to other colonies, like those I have spoke with in our trade negotiation deals, our communications is lacking, and a part of that was the attack that happened on the tower, but the recovery from that has been slow, and that partially falls on your team.
Yeah, I also killed one of my teammates. That's why it's slow.
Who had become undead? Are you saying that without one other team person, you just cannot get the job done? A good leader is able to find solutions. No matter what hurdles are in front of them. And Kells, I do not think you are capable of that.
That's a low blow, Praedir. I did everything that I could get things back up and running, but I was in mourning for a friend.
You were angry.
Crocodile tears.
I was angry.
Angry then, but now I had forgiven you for what you had done, but
someone who had truly forgiven would not use personal attacks on the campaign. That is something that you have only done. Your sole focus has been revenge against those who have wronged you. And I
disqualifying inappropriate candidates is what I've done. And I'm going to do that again right now. Because if all that wasn't enough, and I'd hope to keep this a secret, but I'm sad to report there is a deep rotten core within the founding 5 members of the colony's selected officials, not elected officials. After we got here to the planet, corporates got wind of a communication, and it appears one of the 5 members is a spy, perhaps for another colony, perhaps for another corporation. And while we can all probably guess, it is indeed Redacted also behind this sabotage of our colony, behind the cult of the Nomen. We can't rule out that it's Praedir pulling the strings, just like he's the ringleader of this campaign. Backstage, Ezra and Shire is like, oh my, a spy amongst the 5 of you. That's crazy. This is the first time I'm hearing about this, and I'm shocked. Kells is like, this missive, this transmission was given to Ezra and Shire, the Founding Five's advisor, so he's implicated this as well. He's known for months and has done nothing. Backstage, Ezra says, pronk me. Anything to say to that? You knew this was coming now for all of 20 minutes.
Glad I prepared you so well.
Kells, do you know what the most important thing about trying to find out who a spy is? I do not. I'll answer that for you because you do not, because you have committed the worst possible mistake, which is showing your hand, leaking information. The fact that you were part of the communications team and you took something on your own, away from your station, certainly something that's above your pay grade and your responsibilities, and now has revealed it to all, has made the job of finding this spy and mole 100 times more difficult than it would have been. In fact, Ezra and Shire has done a great job and has made movements behind the scenes to discover this mole, but that action has now been completely wiped out for your drive for revenge against Redacted. Your decision-making, your judgment has completely fallen apart.
I know a very easy way to make sure that we're able to expel this spy, just like you expelled one last month. We exile the 5 of you from this colony, and you're not allowed to see it ever again. You'll have to move off planet. You'll have to go back to Absalom with your tails between your legs for what you've done. I know for a fact that you did not know about this. There was only one member of your team that was privy to this information with Ezrand. Ezrand was not able to do anything about this, so I'm stepping up. If you elect me, this travesty will be done. You won't have to deal with this lack of leadership ever again.
If you elect Kells, you'll be sending a clear message that exile without evidence is acceptable in Veridian. I strongly urge that you continue to place your trust in the people who have had measurable results and not in someone who deals in empty promises and subterfuge.
Oh man, your spinning is so good. It's like she has evidence. Or at least she says she does, obviously. Yeah. It's hard to call her bluff on that right now, but regardless, some pretty big issues raised as the debate wraps up here. Backstage, what are the 4 of you guys saying to one another? This information coming to light for the first time.
But it wasn't my fault. I was given those beans. You persuaded me to trade away my cow for beans. Doodle 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 doodle.
I mean, I do think that it would be a little awkward because clearly one of the 4 of us knows. I mean, it's Asher, but the other 3 don't know that it's Asher, right?
Yeah, so somebody's been bogarting all the good info.
Well, yeah. I'm talking about
the fact that Redacted is supposedly the spy.
At least 2 of you didn't know that there was a spy at all.
Spy?
Right, but then on top of that, one of the 4 of us knew that there was and was holding that back. So
is Asher acting very surprised right now?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think that this was going to be announced on the stage.
No. Right, yeah, so the debate wraps up here. There's, the crowd goes crazy. There's definitely the most people for this final debate. And Ezrand brings you all together and kind of lays out what he gave to Asher and Sky. And it's like, listen, you all, I'm really sorry to keep this from you. I was just worried that maybe some of these crazy things have gone on since we landed here. Maybe they had something potentially to do with someone being a mole, but it's possible one of you smuggled those bugs, the gremlins, onto the ship. And if you're capable of that sabotage, then, I was unsure if something else could happen. So I was a little worried, but I've worked with you guys hand in hand for, the better part of half a year now since leaving Absalom. Maybe corporate got it wrong. Maybe none of you here are a bad actor. I've not seen anything like that. So, what I do know is we all seem to be in this together. I haven't had any real reason to question your loyalties and, to one another or to this colony. Y'all been real cool to me. So I suppose I would say just maybe, take care of each other even more than you would otherwise. Let's turn in for tonight. We still have, election day ahead of us and an election to win. So let's get back to it. All right.
Now,
all right.
You say we're all in this together, and you're not the one up there on that stage getting taken to task and facing expulsion from this colony.
Yeah, Praedir, I'm sorry I didn't warn you about this. I really didn't think that this would be something that could be brought up.
I think it is fine. At the end of the day, if Kells had solid evidence, she would have put it forward. And to your point, even if one of us is a spy, we are not going to find out who it is by buckling down one way or the other. Spies inevitably make mistakes. If we are vigilant, then a mistake will eventually bring us to the truth.
Yeah. If Kells was reading your guys' minds, then wouldn't she know who the spy was? Why wouldn't she say if she... No. All right, we can't think about this now.
Well, detect thoughts has its limitations. And
I don't know what that is. Is that...
It is a spell. It allows you to read thoughts on the surface of your mind. So it's possible that she wasn't able to figure out who the spy was. It's also possible that even if she learned who the spy was, revealing that she knew who the spy was means she would also have to reveal how she gained the information. And detecting someone's thoughts before a debate, that would probably not help her win the election. So I do not think it's something she would even be able to take advantage of had she known.
Seems like it would have been pretty useful intel, but maybe she didn't give that information up because she knew it wasn't you? I don't know. But Redacted and Zilix, did you really spray paint the symbol of the cult on this guy's tent?
We were trying to warn them about the...
I would say we both just kind of look at Praedir.
It seemed like a good idea.
Whose idea it was?
I don't know if it was my idea. I think it was Tyler's idea. I can't remember.
Was it a Tyler, not a Praedir situation?
Yeah, I think I said. I think I was like, it would be fun if we came back and spray painted his tent so that his business would get hurt. I don't think I went into Praedir to say that.
Yeah, and what I asked is like, who wants to do it? And I was like, Redacted, 100%. And then Drew was like, yeah, Zilix would be down.
That was like 100% tracks.
And then I it's so funny because I just edited this episode. I was like, just confirming, this is a plan you guys want to enact? And you're like, 100%. I was like, let's go, baby.
That also sounds like something Myles did.
Oh, that's pretty good.
I can't argue with that. Like, even if it didn't happen, it 100% sounds like something that would happen.
Election day rolls around, and I'm just assuming you guys are all going to vote for yourself. If any character doesn't want to vote for Praedir, maybe DM me if you want to vote for Kells instead or abstain.
I don't know. Kells was pretty convincing up there on that stage.
Whoa.
DM me secretly, Rebecca, if you want to flip-flop.
No, Redacted just wants to see Kells fail in every capacity. So
Kells is nice. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
I wish I could.
We might have prejudices from season 1. With Neck's sister, but
I wish I could throw all that information in her face.
Oh yeah, well, episode 38. You were a real piece of work.
I just got off the phone with one of Neck's.
Oh, this is that person. It's an Anak Feldspar sister. Kells going under. Yeah, she's going by Kells, I guess, Feldspar Diedrich, but is not really using her family name. Right. So it's a long day of voting as the count goes up. Folks scan their colony badge and then have to go into a room where they place a physical vote, in one of two boxes. And yeah, well, one has Praedir's face, one has Kells' face. And I believe, well, Tyler, I guess you can roll another diplomacy check here if you want to
see if I can beat my 17 or
see if you can beat a 17. Otherwise, it's a good roll.
How about a natural 20, baby?
Oh boy. You shifty, gambling, cheating fool. You're just looking at all the futures. Like a bunch of the audience members like, this guy makes some good points. I've had difficulty with what your guys' name is for this season because we don't have a ship, so you're not like a crew. Colony doesn't really work. I've been saying the Founding Five, but yeah, Praedir and the Founding Five got 157 votes. Kells unfortunately fell short with 114 votes. So it was close, but she needed to swing like another.
It close, but not 30, by like American standards.
25 people somewhere in there. Yeah, there's only 277 people in the colony, and none of you decided to vote for Kells. How dare you? I'm revealing your secret ballots, not to your other characters, but to the other players here. Yeah. So yeah, Praedir is elected Prime Executive of Veridian Colony on the 28th of Eridus, 323 Absalom Reckoning, for a term no less than 2 new Galarian years, however long those are. I think it's the same. I think it's like 3.
Good thing I won't live for 2 years.
Kells comes back. She's like, I have stats in the book. You're going to get attacked. No, you are indeed elected Prime X, Prime Executive, Praedir. And you
give it to you.
You have 5 cabinet positions that you need to fill. One for Accord called Deputy of the Peace. The culture one is called Secretary of Society. Economy is Chief of Credits. Magic is the Minister of Mystic Research. And technology is just Sciences Czar. Got anybody in mind for these roles?
Oh boy. So it was...
I put it in our chat.
Oh, you're the best. You're the best. So
I think it doesn't have to be picked immediately, but
Okay. Yeah. I mean, one of the things that I guess maybe Praedir would discuss with Redacted would be that being's feelings of not being appointed to one of these positions due to all the heat around Redacted. But Myles, that's up to you.
Counterpoint, put Redacted in charge of social stuff.
Oh boy, that's gonna be a no-go.
It's like when Dwight decorated for the birthday party.
Right.
It is your birthday. Period. Do you want to?
I think Redacted would want the science position. That is as in even the electives and stuff, that's what Redacted's chosen to do. It's kind of why Redacted's even around, is for the study of things. So that would be something Redacted would want to do.
Okay.
And arrest Kells.
I don't think that's what the science officer does, but science.
No. Just on top of getting the position, also wants Praedir to arrest Kells.
Yeah. These are the kind of things which make me not want to put you.
Hey, it's called a science czar, not a science pal.
I'm gonna send these people to the science gulag.
I'm gonna prove a theorem that you're arrested.
Redacted would absolutely want to be in charge of the studies of things because one, Redacted doesn't think anyone else is up to snuff in terms of
smart enough.
Getting to the objective sciences of it, and also it's a position that allows Redacted to be kind of left alone, which Redacted also likes.
I to spitball, I'm trying to figure out how to give you the science czar position while also holding you accountable for kind of breaking laws.
Make him assistant to the science czar under Zilix.
You could allow the colony to choose the paint job of the car.
Oh, vote for is that our next fan submission challenge? Is what paint job is the Redacted Mobile going to be?
Because Redacted loves that vehicle like more than anyone on the team.
This is your PR, your public relations.
I am saying this as Myles. I'm just saying that Praedir knows how much Redacted loves that car.
Yeah. Okay.
So something involving the vehicle.
The. Oh, okay. Yeah. Yes. I will.
Swear to God, if you get shotgun privileges, I'm.
No. We'll say that, and maybe I'll even approach Kells with this, that Kells and the rest of the community get to choose the outer appearance of the vehicle, which can include color and decals, and then
that's sinister.
Whatever work that you do as the science czar for the next 2 years has to be made publicly available for transparency's sake. Let's do that.
Yeah, Rad is not thrilled about that, but agrees to.
Well, that's only as the science czar. So the workaround is whatever private research you do.
Right. No, I was picking that up. I was
okay.
I will not reveal my secrets.
I was 100% expecting to do that.
Perfect. Okay,
Rebecca, Jabert, Drew, any of these calling out to you or anything you want to suggest here?
So Zilix, stats wise, skills wise, is more based on science than anything else, but he hears the term chief of credits and something inside him that is,
oh boy,
something stirs
that he's not quite prepared for.
Business.
Nice.
Business.
All right, Zilix, do you ask Praedir about this with like some very forward gusto that perhaps we haven't seen, or
give me the money?
Chief of credits, eh? I'm your man. Give it to me now.
The credits. Give me the credits.
I will say, Zilix, since we have arrived here, I haven't seen you so eager for a position, it is nice to see. If you wish to take on Chief of Credits, then by all means, it is yours.
Zilix nods. One eyeball goes one way, one eyeball goes the other way.
Asher and Sky and Jamfram, I cannot help but feel like the Minister of Mystic Research doesn't fit either of you's abilities unless you are hiding something from me that of the mystic variety.
I shiftily look over at Sky and Asher. I'm like, I don't know. They look pretty mystical, Captain.
Yeah, just give that position to Sky.
To be fair, I do have mysticism, and it's not bad. But
yeah, Chief Executive, Executor, Prime Executive. That's your title, probably. It would be my honor if you would give me the duty of keeping our citizens safe in the colony.
I believe the Deputy of Peace position will fit you well, Jamfram.
I hope to live up to the duties of the office.
Which I am very happy to see that leaves Asher and Sky perhaps as our Secretary of Society. I have said this before, but I still firmly believe that Veridian doesn't quite have its own identity yet. And so I feel confident that with you in charge, that'll change.
I agree, and I look forward to helping us forge a community and an identity and camaraderie through the arts.
All right. If it is all right with all of you, I would like to approach Kells and offer her the position of Minister of Mystic Research, or the ability to
the defunded position.
To appoint a Minister of Mystic Research from her team.
Oh.
As a sort of good faith
olive branch. Yeah.
An olive branch here, because I feel like if we do not repair that relationship, she will continue to sow discord and weaken our colony.
You want to try to get a meeting with Kells? See if she'll take you up on that?
Yes, please.
Yeah, she's barely seen in public as the election results, go your guys' way. and a lot of people unhappy. Obviously, 114 people voted for her.
Yeah.
Not a majority at all, but she convinced a lot of folks, and many of them perturbed by some of these allegations. What would you like to say to her?
I must admit that this was a much closer race than I thought it would be, and a sort of boon. I agree that a lot of things have happened very quickly, and during that time there hasn't been a lot of accountability. This was a good time for us to come together as a whole and try to fix some of these things that have been causing tension. So I want to thank you for helping.
That's a nice way to put things that have come to quite a point here over the last few months. I wasn't lying when I said I had forgiven you about Balco. I just missed him immediately after a great deal. And I also really didn't like Redacted for a plethora of reasons. But I, over the last few weeks, really got into a lot of your guys' heads. And I will say I have less than zero clue who this mole was. Well, Asher seemed to be very concerned about. I appreciate you coming out here, Praedir. I would like to take this position on myself and potentially offer whatever leadership capabilities I have in joining your team. I think that would be the best for the colony. I think that will, if maybe I walk back some of the things I said, have things cool down here very quickly. Would that be agreeable to you?
That would. And to sweeten the deal for you, I would like to put into our bylaws or this current election, as you know, that myself and Praedir, Zilix, Redacted, Asher, and Sky, we leave the colony for some time. And it is, no strange thing that death might be an unfortunate side effect of our exploring.
Whoa, you threatening one of your team?
No.
Oh, sorry.
But since you...
we could make room on the council, so to speak.
But since you received such a large volume of the vote, I believe the right thing to do is that in the event of my demise, the prime executive role will fall to you.
Oh, well, if you want to make that a bylaw, I'd watch your back, though, if you indeed aren't this mole character Asher's worried about. They might still have something up their sleeve. So the outcome of this election, if she had won, which honestly never really a concern because Tyler's cheating at the game by having like the primary skill for like all these checks like on lock. But it is possible, I think, with some of the decisions you've made, like some of the enemies you've made in the colony, that she could have tied if I had rolled a little better. Let's see. I used I rolled a 2 for my final bluff check here in this last debate, and then used my I need to mark this. I used my level reroll here to
nice,
to try to get better, to make this a little more exciting. But no, I didn't. I rolled a 7 the second time.
It's closer to normal.
So I think because of those rolls, not a lot of people were convinced. They did see her as, potentially just throwing all kinds of stuff, see what sticks in this final debate, because she was down a little bit in the polls. All right, so that is election 3023.
Can I just say what's more impressive is that we had a 100% voter turnout.
Well, you can like track people down and like force them to vote if you want to, but people were very
proud of our
put
colony.
A note in a box. Get in there.
Yeah, it's just impressive.
Yeah, I mean 277 people. I don't think it's that hard, but yeah, we're at the end of month 4 here. Believe it or not, this like 2 episodes of this election have got a whole month done, and we got to do a bunch of stuff, but the normal end of month shenanigans. But because of this election, we are going to have our first increase in unrest happening. And because of how popular Kells were, even if she walks back some of the things she said, the amount of votes that she got and the kind of things that she brought up brings the colony's unrest total to half of kind of the vote points that she got here, which was 6. So unrest is going to increase by 3. But I think because of the reconciliation or reconciling, that's the word that you guys did, we're just gonna knock that down by I guess just 1 point, down to 2. And right now that's not really a problem. Bad things do happen in the colony if unrest gets up to 10, but really the only way that happens is if you go broke or some of those end of month random events go bad. But otherwise it's pretty easy to live with. Not everyone's gonna like you.
Yeah. So what's our current unrest?
2, just 2.
And we can actually, the other thing we can do is assuage unrest. So we can actually spend resource units to have a festival or
throw a party,
some projects or whatever, and then we can roll a 1d4 and to try and lower the unrest level. So something we can look at if this goes up a little higher.
I was about to say, if it had been 3, maybe it would have been worth it because you do have the burn RP, but 2, it's if you do that for sure, you're gonna roll a 1.
Oh yeah.
So maybe hold off. Yeah, just the first little speed bump for the colony. Let's take a look at the map, because you guys while you were campaigning also did have some time to explore and pick another I guess this month just 2 hexes to fully explore. So far you've kind of gone mostly north and south and west of the colony. What's the colony? It's right here. Does anybody have any other squares you'd like to elect on our colony map here? To
Praedir.
Oh boy!
Look at that square.
Now I'm in charge of the squares too.
I look at that square every day of the week.
I can't tell from the map. Did we explore where the stone needle actually is?
No. You've not mapped that area out.
Should we go and check it out?
Sure.
Yeah.
That's an easy one. That's only a couple squares away from the colony. So
should we also do either GG27 or GG29 because we'll get more of the coast?
GG.
Yeah, I think GG27 is a
big old fertile delta areas. Okay, so another couple of squares there. Who wants to do admin duties this month? And I will say, because of your guys' involvement in the campaign, this is a low income earning month for you all. We're just kind of a week of earned income for everyone, so it's not really going to affect what you earn this month. Who wants to do it?
Redacted will.
Redacted for the first time. Okay. That means I think only Jamfram has it. Jamfram's been putting it off for months.
Whee! It's my turn.
That's rolling 20.
No. So what? Oh, I gotta bring up the colony notes. The first thing that you get to do is roll for resource units, and that's 1d6 and 2d4.
All right.
So you've got now 2 resource nodes created.
And we still have an episode reroll too. So,
well, those are for D20s.
Oh.
Yeah, not great rolls. It's 6 RU in total here, and adding to your previous 2 that you had rolling over. Yeah, 8 RU for this month. That immediately gets cut down to 4 because of upkeep, and then you have a couple projects that you can set forth. Any not a lot you can build.
How is upkeep determined? The upkeep amount, or how do you pay the upkeep?
How many squares that you've developed, resource units, and whatchamacallit, hexes that you've claimed as part of the colony. So the last month you claimed this one in the mountains, kind of near the Golden Blooms, but to the side. Okay. So yeah, right now the upkeep is 4. So you don't have a ton, but I think that is enough to build another resource node potentially.
Okay, let's do it.
Let's see.
Should we maybe do a resource node where there's water?
Well, it's got to be one that you've already claimed. So
Right.
the other thing you can do if you don't want to spend like all of your resource units is claim another hex. That will mean your upkeep is 5 next time. But
Okay, so let's do a resource node in here.
No, we haven't claimed that yet.
Yeah,
We've only
unfortunately-
claimed Y27, so we can put a
I
resource
see.
node there.
Yeah,
the
let's do it
mountain
there.
one
That's fine.
is basically the only one you can
Okay, let's do that.
build.
Then.
What is the cost of that? I've forgotten.
Oh, I got it up.
Resource.
Okay, so
node.
building a resource node costs 1 RU and claiming a hex costs 1 RU.
Oh, that's not that bad.
So we're gonna go from 4, which is good because we need to start saving up
Right.
a little
Well,
bit so that because like I'd love it. We need to build like a school and a shopping center and we start building those kind of things.
Do you want to claim another one? It will take like a month to develop, so which is why you can't like claim and build on the same one, but you can build on Y27, the mountain hex, and then also claim one of these other ones that you've explored.
I think
I would be fine with that.
I like that. I also feel like we should be saving the nodes too.
Yeah,
saving the nodes.
saving
Saving the resource units.
Oh yeah. I mean, you don't have to do a second project if you don't want. So
I don't know. I mean, should we build?
I don't think that we have 3 resource units. I think everything costs. I think the lowest cost of anything is 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the only thing we could do is potentially to claim a hex.
Okay. Then I'm good to go.
okay, all right, and
Redacted school for gifted youngsters will have to wait.
we got to roll a charter event, and we had one last month. So I think there's just a 15% chance that happens.
So D100.
Yeah.
It's an 18.
Oh, right on the cusp there of a 15 on a D100, but not quite. Okay, great. So you guys can each roll a profession check. We could do that off air. I don't know. That's not super exciting stuff, but do not forget to write down how much money you get, please. Right. And we're going into month 5 of the colony, the month of Rova, which is August, I think, is the equivalent. So
Okay.
in real life, we're just getting done with August. We're not keeping up with colony life, I don't think. But yeah, as things kind of like settle back into a normal pace in the colony of exploring and people building, new houses and things like that, and bracing for even more colonists to show up. It's a cloudy day as you guys are maybe getting back from exploring the forests around Veridian, when you see right at the gates of the colony, maybe waiting for you guys to return, Rigzar Mortis, the Eoxian former soldier, kind of with his bony arms folded across his chest, and he comes over to your vehicle as you stop. Hopefully you stop redacting. And he's like, I need to talk to you all. I've got something important to say to you. It's to be continued.
No.
That doesn't stop.
The be continued by
No, please.
Eagles Mortis.
Please come back. Yeah, we'll get back to the adventure next week. We probably should have gone long last week, but I wanted to have a little bit of a cliffhanger for the election, which could have gone either way. Probably was going to go the redacted way. It's like, hey, what if you have 4 chances to roll diplomacy? How good would that be? But yeah, Tyler nailed it here on at least this first book. A lot of diplomacy checks. There's probably a lot more in the next couple as well. But
Oh, goody.
that's gonna
I need
do
to buy a
it.
tinfoil hat to protect my brain.
Yeah, that's gonna do it for this week's episode, guys. Thank you so much for playing with me.
Patrick,
Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you.
A short one. I hope everyone remembers their position names and all that good stuff for next week.
I wrote it all down.
Last time on, I'm gonna have to figure something else to do.
I'm the king of the watch.
We
King of the
will get back to the adventures next time on Cosmic Crits. So long, everybody. Good night.
Bye.
Farewell.
See you next week.
All right, everyone. Welcome to Cosmic Crit. My name's Thurston Hillman. I'm going to be taking you on this journey along with my co-host, Jessica Catalan. Hi, Jessica.
Hello, I'm Jessica Catalan. Happy to be here.
Yeah. So I don't know what this show is about. I've heard it's a Pathfinder First Edition show, so we're really excited to talk about Pathfinder today.
Oh, you're so close.
Wait, no, they're coming in. They're attacking me. Oh, I'm being pulled away from the mic.
You're so close, Thirsty, but you're so wrong at the same time. This podcast, we play something called Starfinder, and now I have to condition that and say we play Starfinder First Edition. That was never a problem before, and then you came along, good sir, and you've introduced the Edition Wars.
Wow.
Also,
Wow, we're
Myles
starting
and
off
Seth are
real
here.
today. Okay.
Yeah, joining Thurston and Jessica. I'm Patrick, and Myles and Seth are here, and we are going to talk about Starfinder Enhanced. First things first. We joked about it, but that's coming up.
Starfinder Advanced Edition.
Oh, one sec. I always have to prep for this. Well, you see, I've got this on my shelf.
Ooh.
I've got the actual physical book because they let me bring the preview copy home from Gen Con. So I'll play the same game I played with the STF network. Pick a page number.
I'm bad at this.
42.
Let's go with. Oh, okay.
The answer to life, the universe, and everything else. I like it.
Okay. You get Evolutionist. So we got some new pages on the Evolutionist. How about the new Evolutionist Divine niche? That's pretty cool. You want to be a Divine Evolutionist? That's pretty neat.
Are you just evolving into God?
I mean, you could be.
Is there an edition of Starfinder that is for evolution challenge states? I'm joking. I'm sorry.
And
I've never seen an evolutionist come from a monkey alien species.
well, there it is with an extra arm. That was also one of the abilities. Not lying. Evolutionist, extra arm. It's an ability in there. That's your freebies.
That sounds more like it. I mean, every evolution is a mutation in some way. They just stick around a little longer. That's all.
So we're stealing you, and I know you've already done a ton of these interviews. And I mean, how many people do you think came up to you guys during Gen Con and peppered you with questions about Starfinder Second Edition?
Well, I'm going to do the professional host thing as the proper host of this show and properly introduce myself as, hi, I'm Thurston Hillman. I'm the managing creative director for the Starfinder role-playing game.
I'm so sorry. You've been on
We've
the
been all
podcast.
loosey-goosey here.
Yeah, you've been on
I know, I
podcast so many
disarm
times.
you.
Although you have been under many different hats throughout the years here on Cosmic Crit, so we appreciate you coming back in this format once more.
Joined by
Jessica,
yeah, exactly. I'm still in charge of the show. Joined by
Jessica. Your position.
I am the Starfinder Society Developer. So I am in charge of getting out all the Starfinder Society scenarios you see, helping man our meta plots, all that kind of stuff, hiring our awesome authors. And I'm also doing a whole lot of work on this whole other Starfinder edition that's coming up too.
Yeah, that Envoy stuff you wrote went pretty well today.
Yeah, because I didn't have enough tasks. I got to add more onto that. Yeah.
We're gonna try and keep this interview as short as possible because we were talking beforehand, and you guys are just finishing up playing some Starfinder Second Edition when you've popped over to answer some of our questions. Is that right?
Yeah, I think we did about like 3.5 hours of gaming, which, by the way, is playtesting. Like that's part of the actual job.
Sounds terrible.
I know. We did some encounters. The illustrious Jason Bowman ran us through some stuff. It may or may not have just been a horrifying ripoff of The Thing, but that was basically what we spent 3.5 hours doing. We were testing out a couple of the classes that are, how shall we put it, newer into the oven, and we're testing out some stuff with. So that was fun.
Some new old classes.
Yeah, like a Solarian and an Envoy, and seeing how that all worked out. Yeah.
Cool. Well, where do we start? I mean, I guess one thing I warned these guys about is I don't want you to have to answer these same questions you've answered at Gen Con a million times. If you have a stock can answer, just like spit it out and we'll move on to the next one as fast as we can. We want to get some new info to our Starfinder listeners and fans out there.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So one of the things about our show was, while we were doing Starfinder when it first came out, we were doing it as an actual play for people who hadn't done role playing before. This is my first tabletop game that I've ever played, was Starfinder. This is the first time I've been on an adventure path. Multiple times. I grew up in a small town in South Carolina, so I didn't have a gaming group. So I always looked at the D&D, the Vampire the Masquerade, the Pathfinder books, but I didn't have anyone to play with. So some of the stuff in gaming is a little bit of a mystery for me. And so I wanted to ask, just as someone who is relatively new, at what point do you decide that a new edition is needed or something that is it is a must? Like, at what point do you decide this is something we want to work on? And this is for both of you. Where does that become apparent that this is what that the next step of Starfinder or any game, rather?
Yeah, there are a couple of points to that. I will answer some of the more corporatese and leave maybe more fun answers to Jessica. Okay, so to rip the Band-Aid off, certainly, tabletop role-playing games, generally speaking, the best part of their life cycle is when a new edition comes out. You'll see this with a lot of games that exist right now. I play myself a lot of Warhammer, and Warhammer loves to have new editions because they can sell new rule books, which gets people in. So, like, from a purely like marketing perspective, having like a new edition is great because it gets a new influx. It puts books out there that everyone really wants. That's important, but it's actually to the side of what was really the impetus for us. The impetus for us was that nothing bad happened back in January this year. It was a totally normal month where nothing happened in the tabletop role-playing game existence, tabletop role-playing game sphere. That was like an existential crisis to many companies that exist.
Nothing was shaken to the core.
Yeah. Like
foundations eroding.
Yeah, we didn't have coastal spellcasters doing crazy rituals or anything. And instead what we, decided was just in that moment, out of the blue, that we, maybe wanted a new edition. Okay, seriously. We've been talking about a new edition of Starfinder for a while. It's been on the go. There's been a lot of discussions as to why. I will say one of the bigger reasons for us, again, sort of a boring answer, but it's very true, is we've been victims of our own success at Paizo, because we had Pathfinder First Edition, really big, successful game. Yeah. Then we did Starfinder First Edition, which iterated a lot on stuff from Pathfinder First Edition. We took some different directions, tried some things. A lot of people were like, heck yeah, I really like what this game is doing. And we got super popular. We had one of our best releases at a Gen Con ever when Starfinder came out. And then a couple of years later, this Pathfinder Second Edition comes out. And suddenly everyone's looking at Starfinder going, where is my 3-action economy, Thurston? When am I getting my 3-action economy, Thurston? And so on and so forth. And so at the end of all of that, we became victims of our own success because the new thing we'd done had all this cool tech that a lot of people wanted. And so for a long time, it's just kind of felt like the thing we needed to do. The January events with the OGL, necessitated Pathfinder switching to the remaster project. And that remaster project actually gave us a unique opportunity that we really wouldn't have had before of basically getting our games on parity. Like with, about a 2 year, even a year if you count the playtest as being, in that engine, about a year difference between, which is going to be really, really huge, and making sure those games are living in about the same timeline so that we aren't constantly like tripping over ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure Jessica has more fun answers to that.
Yeah, you covered a whole lot of them.
I covered a lot. Yeah, I was going to say.
So yeah, I think so. Usually, you also, once you start going more and years, and you're building on top of everything you've built before, and you're adding more content, and we put out books very fast, right? Like the amount of new rules, things you get in any of our games, it comes at a very fast pace. And when you hit a certain point as an author for those types of products, and also as a player, eventually you can just have so much, right? And I think Pathfinder First Edition hit that problem, right? Like there was so much, like just picking a feat, there's so much to go through that eventually you just like, well, this first one I found that felt good is sure, we'll go with that one. And I don't think we hit that yet with Starfinder. I don't think we did. And I think Starfinder Enhanced speaks to that, right? Like we have another big rule book, Starfinder Enhanced, coming out filled with tons of fun new character options and things like that. I don't think that that's the point that we hit in Starfinder yet. I think we had more to go. But like Thurston said, we came up with events happened, and it accelerated our timeline, let's say, right? Like we've always known eventually we would have to do another edition of Starfinder. And Starfinder has always been a game, in Starfinder First Edition, for example, that was kind of pushing the envelope a bit and like innovating, right? Like it was built on Pathfinder, just like that was built on 3.5. But it still was like with a twist. It was doing something more. It was trying to push boundaries and try new things, right? Yeah. And I mean, we always knew eventually we'd have to do another, because right now, once, like Thurston said, when second edition came out, a lot of the questions weren't, what's the new thing Starfinder's doing? It's, why aren't you doing this other thing Pathfinder's doing, right? And they are different games, and they shouldn't be held to the same standard. But Starfinder in spirit is also about innovation. So getting to push us forward, a little sooner than we had intended, for sure. We've been talking about second edition, and we knew it would be on the horizon, but yeah, no, definitely the timeline jumped us forward a bit. Some precogs were messing with some things, and here we are.
In those discussions of like, Starfinder is coming, at one point in Pathfinder Second Edition's popularity rising, did you know that a Starfinder Second Edition was going to be like a completely integrated system? Was that always a plan to potentially expand both into like a shared rule set? Or
I have something quick to say before Thurston jumps in. I'm sure you'll have a nice long answer.
Good.
I've been here less than Thurston has, obviously. I've only been here a couple years. And I can say that when I started, we knew that there were, in the back of our minds, at some point we'd have to do Starfinder Second Edition, whatever that might look like. But we did not have like a solid in X years, right? That was not, it was so nebulous. We didn't even have like a potential, this might be the date, right? And also there was internal discussion about that exactly. Should it be compatible? If it is going to be compatible, should it wait even longer? Because, I mean, how long should we wait before we go to try to be compatible? And if it's not going to be compatible, what will it be? Like, so as far as I was aware, no, we had, everything was on the table.
I have to say that I think that's the correct move, because I've been a fan of Pathfinder for a long time. It has its roots in D20 SRD, 3.5 Dungeons and Dragons, and those rules have always felt really good. And I've always enjoyed Starfinder, but because, like you said, it's something that has the spirit of innovation. Something that I felt always kind of held Starfinder back is that it's still based on those same old rules. Like it has like a framework like built onto it. Like it has its own rules that it attaches essentially onto that rule set. So it becomes its own thing, but when I heard that this was just going to be utilizing the second edition rules, I think that's probably the best way forward, because when I played Pathfinder second edition, I was like, oh, they've got something here. Like this is something. And I think integrating Starfinder with that is going to be, I think that's really exciting. Personally, I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, we did have a lot on the table, as Jessica said. I remember, like, I will cards on the table. I'm one of the people who thought that, integrating the games was essential for making sure we could deliver a quality product. And Starfinder is at its core a smaller product line than Pathfinder. We don't have the same amount of staff that exists on the Pathfinder side right now. And so that limits our ability to release products. And so one of the big struggles we've had is, we have to do adventures, then we have to do rule books. Okay. But then if we're rehashing a whole bunch of stuff Pathfinder, has, then we have to redo all of those rules to make it work. And so then we're spending time rehashing stuff that maybe we don't want to or shouldn't be spending the time on, right? And so compatibility was something I pushed for, but everything was on the table. We had discussions at one point of like, maybe it's an entirely different game system, or maybe we come out with it and it only goes levels 1 to 10, or we
more action economy now.
Yeah, we had like some serious discussions about it, and at the end of the day, a lot of people on the team felt very, very passionate too about, we all love Pathfinder. A lot of us came from Pathfinder. A lot of us, helped build Starfinder or were brought in on the Starfinder team. So we obviously love Starfinder. And anyone who says the current Starfinder team is abandoned first edition, that's not the case. We all love it. We've played it. We've devoted years upon years of our lives to it. Like, I'm the one person on the team left who's been there since the game started. And honestly, like it is a core thing, but gamers are changing too. And this is something I noticed, on the show I GM for. We recently started a Starfinder actual play. We did like a session 0 for it. And these are players who really, like super narrative focused players. We started doing Pathfinder 2e about a year ago, give or take. And, they had their growing pains in that, but have come to really appreciate the system. And so when we kind of went back to the 3.5 tech, a lot of people in the group were like, I have fond memories of 3.5. Let's go back into this rules engine. And I'm going to make a gray with a strength of 6. And then I'm going to use like jolting surge. Oh, that's a touch attack. I'm taking a penalty. What do you mean I don't have like a spell attack roll? What do you mean it's a strength based thing? Like, there are all of these little things that a lot of gamers are taking for granted in newer modern systems. Like, 3 actions versus like, all right, you get a standard, then you get a move, but you get this swift, and this swift is kind of useful in some situation. Like, it's
kind of like a half action.
Yeah, right. And so, like, and this is not me like saying any bad things about those systems. We all grew up on them. We all, love them and played them. However, if you look at a modern audience, they have different expectations. And one of the things we have to do, again, going back to my cold business views on things, is like, we have to appeal to a modern audience. Otherwise, there's going to be no one left to play our game.
Yeah. Well, for me, the news that you guys were making a second edition completely compatible with Pathfinder, Starfinder second edition compatible with Pathfinder second edition, I was overjoyed, because I the possibilities that shared universe kind of like opens up as a GM, but also as someone that enjoys having my players have just like a ton of options. I've just started GMing for teens, and I go over like, just in Pathfinder second edition, all the ancestries and classes and things that they have access to. And just the other day, I was showing them the Paizo website, and they were like, oh, yeah, Pathfinder. What's Starfinder? I was like, oh, well, it's Pathfinder in space. And they're like, what? There's a whole nother game? And I'm sure they would be very excited when I explained like, oh, yeah, you can be basically any kind of character you can imagine. That would also include, laser wielding Indiana Jones kind of character from the future. They'd be very excited about that. I'm sure my players are very excited about the potential for mixing and matching. Is that something that you guys are play testing right now? I know you're testing out new Starfinder classes, but is anyone playing Pathfinder characters in what you're testing out currently?
I see Jessica smiling. So we had a blog we released 2 days ago that was talking about some of our playtesting that we've done internally. It kind of went through some of like, hey, this was a playtest we ran. Well, not to bury the lead, but on I think the 5th of September, there'll be another blog post going up. It's going to talk about a playtest we did where we decided to see how will our current iteration of the Operative, as played by Jessica in that lovely session, stack alongside a gunslinger. Let's run a playtest and see how they work. And the results were fascinating.
It's not the class I thought you were going to say, gunslinger. I thought you were going to put the Operative against a rogue.
That's an interesting point to our class design, though, is that like, something we've said is we're trying not to make a lot of these classes the space blah. Like the soldier, for example, is not the space fighter. The Operative is not the space rogue. These are existing in very different niches. And
I could tell
places.
In the first edition design folks, like when we talked to Owen and things like that about like the Solarian, they were pretty adamant that they didn't want this to be, here is your space paladin. And they have a sword made of energy, and they're not Jedi. They're completely different from Jedi. But they've struck a nice balance. From everything I've read of the Mystics, we're getting a very different class potential in Mystics 2nd edition, and a new iconic. I guess an iconic that we know, but for 2nd edition.
What they're going to Keskadai?
Keskadai's
Keskadai is still around.
Okay. I was going to say best Bug Dad. Like, come on, don't get rid of
but now we get Bug Son.
Oh, that's true. Okay. And son of Bug Dad.
Yeah.
son of Bug.
Yeah. Chick has my heart, and you will all love him too.
Yes.
Actually, Thurston, bringing up the Operative, I did have, I guess that brings up a very specific question I have related to how classes behaved in the first Starfinder. It felt like balance-wise, there were some issues in the first Starfinder in that it seemed like some classes were able to interact with more of the game than other classes were. It was a pretty common complaint that I had when somebody in the group I was in was playing an Operative and someone chose to play like a Vanguard. And like the Vanguard is really good at hitting things very hard and not dying. They're very good at those two things. However, when it came to any other part of the game, it's like, can you make this check? And the Vanguard's like, no. Like I have nothing. Like I literally cannot do any skill checks. So like I'm wondering if there's going to be any more like balance in terms of letting these other classes like interact with the game more, in case they aren't somebody who just shows up to throw a d20 and get high numbers, because those people do exist, and it's valid.
I'm gonna answer shortly and then pass it over to Jessica, because as Jessica wrote the current iterations of our Operative and our Envoy, which are classes that certainly speak to one another, I will say that the first edition Operative is totally balanced. There was nothing wrong with that class at all. Anyone who complains about them is totally wrong. There's nothing bad with a class that can do like massive damage, be great at every skill. There are problems there. Like I know people like tiptoeing around it. That class did have some systemic problems, especially depending on types of games you were playing. So as a team, we sat down and discussed like, what niches and roles should these classes be in? And I'm sure Jessica can kind of speak a bit more to that.
Yeah, I'm going to try to not step over what spoilery things I'm allowed to say.
How hard did you nerf the Operative? Tell us now.
So I think one of the things that's exciting about working in the 2nd edition framework for Starfinder is that on the one hand, skill feats are separate than your class feats. So whatever class you are going to have opportunities to get skill feats, to get skill increases, and to get class feats and class abilities. And both of those are separate, so that you cannot be the character who has actually no skills, I'm good at it all, whoops. And you can't not be the person who's great at everything, of course, but like your combat abilities are on a separate choice than your skill ones. So you can't just choose to take only one and ignore the second half of your character. So that gives us a better framework to start with in the first place, right? Those on the Starfinder end, right? Things like skills could take up your feats, but like they're competing with combat things and stuff like that. On the end of the operative for first edition, yes, they sure could do a whole lot. And one of the really nice things about going and getting to work on Starfinder, again, I'd say we're starting from the spirit of Starfinder and like the heart of Starfinder, but trying to remember that we're going into something new, right? This is a new phase of Starfinder, and getting to take each of those classes and break it down and go, what is actually like the heart of this class? Like, is the operative the class that's the skill class for Starfinder? Are they? Or is something else? Is that the envoy? Is it somebody else entirely? What is an operative? Especially when we're considering the meta state of our game. In Pathfinder 2nd edition and Starfinder 1st edition and Pathfinder 1st edition, everything, it very strongly forces you into melee combat, right? That's the place to be. That's not going to be the case in Starfinder 2nd edition. We want you to play ranged. We want you to use your guns because, I mean, everybody's got them. And then you can fly really early because that won't break your game because everybody's got ranged attacks. There's a different feel to what we want it to be, right? We want to consider not just what are these classes like in Starfinder if we put them in 2nd edition. We want to consider what is Starfinder if we're using a whole different framework. Like at its heart, what should it be? And we get to do that with every class too. And then we're not just comparing them against what they used to be. We're comparing them against each other to make sure they all fill different niches, but are still fully capable in everything. So you don't feel like you're the class that has nothing to do in a fight or nothing to do outside of it. And then also, though, we also have to balance, okay, but if you cross over and shove a bunch of Pathfinder things in, what makes them different than those ones, right? So there's a lot to balance, but it's also been really rewarding as a team getting to sit down and consider and brainstorm and think like, how at the heart of each class, what are they? Who are they? And if you're actually launching us into the future, right? What should they be? Like, let go of all of our preconceptions we have about like what the game makes you play it like. How should you play it? Like, what is at heart does it want to really be? So it's been really fun getting to reimagine things like operatives and envoys and soldiers in a very familiar, the same context, but also kind of a very different context.
And since I can give out some spoilers, I'll just give out a spoiler here because Jessica's like, how much can I actually spoil? Here, let me drop one I haven't dropped anywhere else yet. The Envoy is our like multi-skill class. That is the class that should be good at a whole bunch of different things. Maybe it's not the best at all of those things and has access to everything, but it's got access to a lot of things in its current rendition, asterisk star playtest pending.
I've always felt like the Envoy was a better suited class as the skill class personally. I always kind of felt like it needed more, and I'm glad to hear that. I am jealous because it sounds like you guys are having fun working on this, and I'm just going to have to sit outside the window and just kind of
read all of our playtest blog posts.
Yeah, no, let's at starfinderplaytest.com. That's the first time I've said it. We're going to keep going with that.
Let's just scrap this recording. Let's just play a little bit of Starfinder 2nd edition. How about that?
How about in a
Patrick,
couple months when I want to do that? 100%. My plan is,
and we will. The four of us will play operatives. We'll have a full operative party.
Oh, you don't want me to give you 4 different classes from SF2 and you can try them all out?
No.
Oh, okay.
Only operative for all party.
Well, it's package not speak for everybody.
Party in our current. Just it could work.
Yeah, well, I'm very excited. Like I said earlier about the crossover between these systems. We got in the first field test that you guys published a little glimpse at some of the new rules. You talked about how gunfire and laser fire, things like that, will have some different effects. Suppressed as a condition was shown in there, as you know, like laying down heavy fire with a laser Gatling gun.
Glitchings in there,
yeah. Are weapons going to be kind of focused in Starfinder 2nd edition to do new things like that? Will there be big changes for things like say, grenades, a much maligned weapon category on our podcast at the very least, even though I love them.
Well, I'll say that so far in
Wonder
our testing,
grenades are great. I don't know what you're talking about.
Everyone's favorite.
Don't pull the pin of a grenade of wonder when you're inside a moonflower. You will inevitably get the result that reverses gravity, and then you're still inside a moonflower that's 80 feet up on a ceiling. Happened to me once. Not a good time. Well, not
no,
me, but
no.
to a
Wonder
player.
grenades.
Player,
that's the
player
bathroom grenade. You pull the wonder grenade, and then you go to the bathroom while the DM
see
tries
what
to figure out
happens.
what the heck is going on.
Yeah, no. So to hit a bit, guns have a lot of wild and varied effects now in Starfinder Second Edition. We just came in from a playtest game where my character was spending an action to do something with their gun. You know, a lot of people are like, "Oh, that third action in Pathfinder 2 economy, you have nothing to do with it." I was starved for choices with those third actions. And some of the guns, like, you know, the fact is, and you saw it in the playtest, we have a lot of different damage type on weapons that doesn't quite exist. Like it's kind of strange. We even had like a type of weapon damage that did mental damage, and like, what would that be? You know, that's all some of the fun that we're going to get to have with new weapons. We have a whole array of new traits that we're currently in the process of like messing around with and seeing how they work and playing, you know, like testing them out and whatnot. But that really speaks to what Jessica brought up and is key to what we're doing, which is this meta state. Like Starfinder at its core, whether or not it is the case, you know, as much right now in first edition, but at its core, it should be a game about guns. Like, really, you should have people who are firing guns. Don't get me wrong, Vesk and their Doshkos.
I was going to say, Vesk might have something to say about that.
Well, and I will say the Vesk with a Doshko in our playtests have been super effective. But you know, we want to have a game where guns are getting fired. Like,
it's one thing I enjoyed in first edition. I would invariably in all of my campaigns in Pathfinder First Edition have someone that wanted to play a ranged character, and once they got to a certain threshold with a bow and arrow or crossbow, they were a very dangerous force on the battlefield. And I just don't feel like any of our Starfinder folks here have ever wanted to devote that much to ranged.
I've played almost nothing but ranged characters throughout the 6-year history of our podcast.
How's that worked out for you?
You know what I want? I want scary sniper rifles.
Haven't died.
And not just in that one Starfinder scenario.
What was the operative damage you dealt, Jess, in our play test? Like, what was your opening shot? We were doing
a critical hit with my lovely fatal sniper rifle.
Ooh.
And it dealt.
So
what low level were we? It did like over 50. When
second edition came out and all those various like crit effects and things like that, I was like, oh, this is what I think grenades and sniper rifles were missing, was that like extra like oomph of damage if you roll just right, you know.
I think we were like 5th level, and it was like opening shot, easy 50 points of damage, head blown off and as landed. Which, you know, equates roughly to like,
and it was great.
Yeah, an arquebus gunslinger who can do a similar thing, but like maybe an operative's more consistent about it. It's interesting. Grenades are in a weird place. We're testing them internally right now. You know, I think I mentioned it in the playtest blog, so I don't feel bad saying it here. Like right now, we're testing them out as just like drop template in range and use class DC. Yeah, like simple, easy, sense. No splash damage, just everything in makes a save. And this speaks to a lot of what we've been finding is that third action in Starfinder is critical. Like there's so many uses for a third act. So far in our playtest, I've very rarely had a situation where a character's like, I don't know what to do with my third action. Like even spellcasters where it's like, I cast a buff or a debuff, and then because it's Starfinder, I cast gun. It works real well.
I mean, in Pathfinder Second Edition, I mean, in Dead Men Roll No Crits, the melee characters like my character Hanto the Monk and Rebecca's character Alaris the Rogue, we call the third action the Hail Mary, because it's like we don't really have much to do with our third action aside from hope I hit a 20 with that roll, like, because especially with Honto, like I've already attacked 3 times, so I'm like at the highest penalty possible. It's like maybe I'll get a 20.
Crit fishing. Yeah.
Crit fishing indeed.
That's been a lot of fun trying to work out for each class, but also for our gear, finding ways that we can make use of that third action for everybody, and also reactions, finding new fun reactions for every class, and making sure there's lots of choices so you don't feel like any of your actions are wasted. Has been a lot of fun. Yeah.
Here, another spoiler. Like, wow, we did the Solarian today, and the Solarian had some really cool reactions.
Oh, fun.
Yes.
Playing the Solarian was very fun today. I like where we're.
Yeah, I definitely feel like
Did you going for brownie points because I did the first draft of it. Checks in the mail.
I'll take that. I'll believe it when it gets here.
So,
well, that's a deep cut.
Armor is something I have a question about. So, obviously, like in the first edition of Starfinder, like we had like archaic weapons, right? Like, you know, anybody who would come at you with a sword or a bow would suffer greatly for it. And you know, there was EAC and KAC. I'm assuming that there's no EAC KAC going on.
Armor class.
Okay. That's cool to kind of like bring that into one number. And another one that I had is as a DM in Starfinder, an annoyance of mine is that like I would bring up, you know, like when I think about space exploration, I think about like going to planets you've never been to before, encountering like toxins, poisons, and viruses that are unknown and dangerous. And
beep, nothing hurts me.
Yeah, I would bring it up, and they would be like, "Oh, well, I am wearing armor, so it doesn't matter." And I'm like, "You're right."
For a long time internally, a bunch of us at the office who worked on the game referred to it as Jesus suits because you'd just be like, hooray. It's honestly something we've had serious talks about. You know, Jessica does a lot of adventure design, and that's a big pain in the butt for scenarios. I, you know, started in org play, as a lot of people know, same as where Jessica is now. And oh boy, I get my face ripped off if I ever dared to put in like this is a special type of gas that can bypass your environmental protections. You would get review bombs so fast. How dare you take away this thing that I mostly forget about, but when it matters, I like to tell the GM.
Caustic. Definitely caustic. Make everything caustic. It ate right through that.
Right through, yeah. And they'll still review bomb you. No, it's fun. Like, and the original intent for that, having been there at the time, is, you know, you want to make sure that like people can adventure. Like at first level, you should be able to go to the dead planet and explore around. I think, though, the approach we're taking is maybe less of like, you can go to Magma McFire World at first level where the air does 4d6 fire damage and have a good time. But what we're looking at, and some of the scaling equipment opportunities that we have really tie into this, is doing some iterative increases in defenses based on the specific model of armor you have. So that way, what we can do from an adventure design perspective, which is really appealing to us, is have some gated content. And I'm gated, I mean like, hey, by 7th level armor, we can assume that the PCs can now deal with like minorly corrosive or radioactive environments. Check. So, okay, are we going to do an adventure there where we don't want it to be an issue for the players? Cool. Let's do it, like start it at 7th level. And that gives us some benchmarks so that we can know where some of these things will show up in adventures. Whereas previously, in first edition, it's like, I can go anywhere and do anything. And if, you know, the writers have the temerity of putting a hazard that's even half adjacent to the protections I have listed, that's a bad thing. Like, we want to make sure that there's environmental challenges. It's important.
Yeah. Now I'm just thinking about like what that means for characters that stumble into Starfinder scenarios, but they're Pathfinder characters. It's like, I've got full plate, so I'm immune to radiation.
My God will protect me.
And this is really a key point where, you know, these systems are going to be compatible. Compatibility does not mean balance. And this is something so important to talk about. It goes back to, Jessica brought it up, the meta state. It's the thing we refer to internally a lot. It's the, you know, yeah, these games are compatible. I can pull a creature stat block from any PF2 book and drop it into a Starfinder 2 game, and it will work fine. But let me tell you, a goblin with a dog slicer who's 200 feet away from the guy with a laser rifle, that goblin's probably not going to make it. And it's probably going to be a really boring encounter. And so these like meta states are a lot of the balance we're actually doing is like, how fun is it? You know, there's different GMing styles. I, for example, like to test the long range game. Jason Bowman believes in our playtest to start us 10 feet apart from each other in every combat. This is a personal attack on you, Jason Bowman. You aren't listening to this, but I want you to know this. But that's different meta states, and we need to test that to see how those work out, right?
Mm-hmm.
I like the idea that like each group, I guess I don't know how to call like the future group and the past group. I like to think that they would have like different ways to surprise each other, right? Like you get people from like you get some Starfinder characters encountering some ancient Pathfinder thing, and they're like, "Oh, our guns don't work. That's weird." You don't know how to.
You guys don't have magic runes on those things. What do you?
Yeah.
Not gonna
like
do
it
anything.
Specifically needs like a blessing, and it's like, oh, huh.
Hey, Jessica, how about the don't you have a cell phone from our playtest?
Oh no.
One of the one of the interesting things is when we had a playtest involving our gunslinger tossed out of time into Starfinder. He was from Pathfinder, and our mystic needed to. He was way up in the middle of getting his face punched in. His like guns had already misfired. He was having a real bad day. Yeah. And like the big burly boss we've been all trying to take down together was about to like punch him in the face, and like he would not be going back to his time at all. He would be done. And our mystic was so excited. He's like, wait, I've got a ranged healing spell. Yeah, I call their cell phone and on their comm unit, and I play like their theme song, and it's like invigorating and it heals them. He doesn't have a comm unit.
Oh, this is awkward. Realization.
Well, I guess I can't heal you.
The gunslinger only has Android, and you have an iPhone. It doesn't. Yeah. It's not working.
Yeah, but like
can't heal people like with green text bars.
Yeah.
Boy, howdy. I'm learning a lot about. I'm very excited about this next blog post you got coming out. This sounds like a good one.
Good one. It's gonna be a good one.
Can you tell us when we're going to get more field tests? Is there another one coming up after that? Maybe
we haven't quite announced that yet. I will say that I am. We put number 1 there for a reason. We aren't quite announcing the date on the next one, but stay tuned. We're gonna have some, Paizo often does some events. We have our Paizo Live, our blogs. Keep an eye out. We'll probably be letting people know. The next big thing, of course, is Pathfinder is now doing. I think it's next week. They're going to be doing their announcement of a playtest with 2 new classes. So.
Right. Big excitement in that. Didn't see that coming for sure too.
Everyone before Gen Con was like, oh man, Paizo's so busy. Like they've got this remaster project. We're gonna be lucky if we get a book with 1 class. And then we came out and we're like, how about 8 in the next year? Like it's been a busy time at the office.
We'll talk about that. Yeah, you're reinventing these Starfinder First Edition classes, but we haven't really talked about Ancestries, which they will also be called Ancestries in Starfinder Second Edition, correct?
Yeah, that's generally the play.
Yeah, Alien Ancestries, but you're changing it up for Second Edition, so in a similar way that Pathfinder Second Edition added in Goblin, I guess was one of the main kind of add-ins for the core book. We're going to get, is it Patra for
Patra
Starfinder Second Edition? And did you announce anything else already? Is there anything else you want to announce here? Well,
keep an eye out.
You got to get the cat people in there. Come on.
I'll announce that there's more than that.
Yeah,
nice.
And we might even have some bespoke versatile heritages in our book too.
Oh, exciting. Well, I was about to say, are humans going to be in there? Because we've already got Pathfinder second edition humans, are there going to be like a whole new entry, or are there going to be like options for humans? What's
kind of cool? It's kind of cool that on my second monitor I can pull up all of our work in progress.
Enhance the reflection of Thurston's glasses.
I know. Get it.
That kind of reminds me. There's another RPG that I backed, and like they just came out with like their beta PDF. It's like a Studio Ghibli old school video game inspired system called Break. And they have two humans, one which is like a human of the world, and then one called the Interdimensional Stray, which is like a human from somewhere else. Like,
it's like we already got space goblins. Are we getting space humans?
Right. So it's like, yeah,
we will be. You know, currently, you know, we want to make sure that if we're releasing something, we want it to have some kick to it, right? Humans is a good example of this. You know, one thing that's also really fun that did not exist in Starfinder First Edition is the concept of heritages, right? That like you pick an ancestry, but on top of your ancestry, you get a heritage. I mentioned it on a few other shows, but like this lets us explore some cool design space. Like, hey, you know Sheeran, and you can have a Sheeran. Hey, what if like we had like a winged Sheeran as a potential thing? Like, there's some different opportunities that like we just couldn't do effectively under the old rules chassis. One of the fun thing for like heritages we could do for now is like humans that maybe have heritages that are more tied to Lost Galarian or the Aslanti Star Empire. It lets us explore some interesting space. And so, yes, will there be humans?
I'm not
absolutely.
About being able to play in Aslanti.
No, I definitely I want it. First thing.
Of course, Patrick wants to play in Aslanti.
Space baddies. Well, that's. Oh yeah, go right ahead.
I think it's important to note that like Pathfinder Second Edition has tons of cool ancestries, and those are going to be compatible. And tossing those into a Starfinder game will not break your game at all. Like 100% pull those in. Also, many of those do also exist in Starfinder, right? So even when we start with just our core ancestries, anyone that's in Pathfinder and is a part of Starfinder is also there. Like if you want to play a dwarf in space, which you should, they're there, right?
Yeah,
like
that's exactly
kobolds everywhere.
I imagine we're getting like some pages of some additional spacey ancestry feats for definitely a lot of these first or Pathfinder Second Edition ancestries. One thing that I personally was worried about is we're going from Starfinder First Edition, where you only have those single page alien playable character species, to now Second Edition, which is usually like 3 or 4. I'm just worried we're not going to get as many of those in your, we would get them in adventure paths and get like a ton of them in the alien archives. Is it going to take, like, are we ever going to get back to that point in Starfinder Second Edition where there's 100 playable aliens?
I mean, we're already close. Like Jessica just said, we're going to have all of the Pathfinder ancestries.
Oh yeah, that's a nice little jumping off
right?
point.
But I'm gonna
35 or something.
Yeah, already and that's not including like weird back mattery stuff and other things. And then the ones that will exist in our new core book and all the ones that are going to come out between now and the next 2 years. There's a lot of space. A lot of ancestries will exist already, right? Now I'm going to address an elephant in the room, which is that, like, oh wow, in Starfinder 1E, there were a lot of ancestry or species that existed, and that's because a lot of those species you could tell and you could deliver all of the playable information in a quarter column section. That had perks. It also had some massive detriments. First of all, you could tell who the clear winners were, and there sure were some ancestries in Starfinder First Edition that were some clear winners. And
humans, obviously.
Where do you stand on the trucks?
The trucks. I mean, how about, let me tell you, I'm sure there are a ton of people who did want to play SROs for flavor. There were a lot of other people who played SROs because they ignored a lot of elements of the game and were a super powerful species. And like, before anyone says, no one would ever play the game like that, I know a lot of people who, do character builders and are nice enough to share data with me. And the data is pretty conclusive that you can see there's like core, and then, the ones that are really high up there are mechanically super good. And then you start seeing ones where they have like a really heavy theme element. And I'm not saying this to like rain on anyone's day. I'm saying this because it's a cold hard fact. And when you reduce an ancestry down to, a quarter column snippet of text that is predominantly math based, people are going to find the winners and the losers, right? Whereas the ancestry system in the Pathfinder 2e engine lets us do so much more and gives us so many cool options. Like, you're not just going to pick your ancestry in Starfinder 2nd edition because it gives you the buffs you want, because honestly, you can get the buffs you want to most stats anyways. What it's going to let you do is look through and find cool, fun abilities that are like going to help you, tell a narrative or get into your class and you're like, into the character you want to be into. We haven't really talked about ancestries a lot in other, shows, but there's a lot of fun stuff. Like, there's a pretty vivid discourse going on right now about multiple arms in the Starfinder 2e engine. How that can be pretty potent. And, maybe being a Kasatha will let you be a bit more potent with your many arms. Or, maybe being a Patra, you'll get things like, I don't know, long whiskers that give you special stuff, or arcane whiskers that give you stuff. Like, we Magic can have whiskers. I'm not kidding. Arcane Whiskers is currently one of their feats. I have the documents. I can be abusive like this. No one stops me. But realistically,
I'm a madman.
Yeah, exactly. But it lets us do some interesting, fun narrative stuff. And the other thing that it lets us do, and like, I can really speak to Jessica's skill here, because she's knocking it out of the park, because she's been handling a lot of the development on this right now and the sort of second passes on ancestries, is that we can tell more of a story. Getting like 2 pages or even a full page of like, here is the narrative for this ancestry, rather than like, here is a small stat block that says these are walrus people who live on the aquatic walrus planet, please go. I was partly responsible for walrus people in Starfinder. I know
you're the blame.
I was well, in Cape Baker too. It was kind of a shared thing. That all being said, is like, it lets us do more. And, rather than that ancestry being reduced to, this is the best bonus, the best ability, it lets the player feel more involved. So will there be, will it not be as easy for us to slap them into every book we do? Absolutely. Does that mean we're going to have less? Probably not, because it's actually something we want to dive into. I don't think there's a book yet that we've pitched where we aren't like, there are about 6 ancestries we can put into this book off the top of our heads. And that's not even including like, if we, probably like money, which our company does, and is like, let's do an ancestry book.
Oh my goodness gracious. Yeah, you just sold 1 million copies of Alien Ancestries Volume 1.
And all the Pathfinder players can suddenly use that. Think of it. Can you not wait to see the legions of Skittermanders that are going to invade Galarian?
Thirsty.
As someone playing a Grey, I am very excited about this.
Skittermanders are 2017. I want to play Starfinder 2nd Edition Novians that are coming out in Starfinder Advanced.
Those are my babies.
How long are we going to have to wait until we get Novians in 2nd edition? I'm very excited. Well,
if I have anything to say about it immediately, except they won't let me put them in core.
Yeah, I know. To say, look, we iconic Novian.
We've snuck one potentially flying thing, but how about I'm hoping it won't just like block it out. Look at this little long Furby here. That's playable. That's
Oh my
a playable
goodness.
species in enhanced.
You've
The
just shown us
Spuridays,
indeed
the
something.
flying long Furby creatures. I ruined them by calling them long Furbies, but they're flying magical creatures that you can play, and they have a clumsy fly speed because they're adorable.
I have to say, Thurston, you've identified the kind of player I am, because usually whenever I pick up a book, the first thing I look for in table of contents is player options.
Yeah,
that combination of words. I just I just want to see if there's any cool new things I can do.
absolutely.
It's
And I think
always
we've
look
learned
there.
that. We want to do more of that. That's for all of us. That's the fun stuff, I think.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up here tonight, I will say I was concerned going from Pathfinder First Edition to Pathfinder Second Edition in reducing all the crazy options that we had, but they multiplied over in just the last couple years throughout the books so quickly I could barely keep up. We got the gunslinger before you knew it, and then so many books came out with those different versatile heritages that really multiplied those options that players had. I had a 12-year-old the other day who made up a Kitsune skeleton psychic, and I was like, this is the weirdest combination ever. And
love it.
It sounds so awesome. They're like, yeah, I want claws and I want to be able to read people's minds. I'm like, you could do that in Pathfinder Second Edition.
Yeah.
And that's one of the exciting things that I'm hearing as a player is the combinations of weird and wild things that you can do are being explored fully in a wild sci-fi way. And I did have a quick question, I guess, for Jessica before we head out. Is some of my favorite moments in narrative in Starfinder. I've enjoyed all the stories, but I've loved when it's gotten really weird. And when we are in the mindscape of a hive creature and having to make these wild sacrifices and doing all these things that feel very rewarding. It's not a traditional space fight constantly. It's you're making interesting decisions that will have effects later in the story. Has moments like that affected how you guys are going to approach narrative with Starfinder Enhanced Edition? With all these new things you can do, is the narrative going to be just as wild and crazy in that respect?
So I write a lot as freelancer for Starfinder and Pathfinder, and I love Pathfinder's engine. Of course, it's such a smooth system, and I'm excited we're bringing Starfinder that direction. But when it comes time to write adventures, I find Starfinder is such a freeing system to write for in terms of what you can do in adventures. Literally nothing I could possibly think of is too weird for Starfinder. But at the same time, Starfinder has such heart in it. It's got it's got spirit. And It doesn't matter what kind of weird story you're doing. If you're doing horror, if you're doing comedy, if you're doing First Contact, if you're doing slugfest, if you're doing random mindscapes and time shooting into different, we had a special that was time traveling, and it doesn't matter what weird things you can think of, it's not too weird. And it still manages to still keeps its heart, right?
Right.
I find it is very fun to work in. So anytime we have more weird stuff to do that I can see from a player option standpoint, from new lore standpoint, from weird plot hooks, anything like that comes up is always just a whole bunch of fun new tools to throw in there, right? Even if it's just these are cool new things I can make the enemies in these fights do, or you can expect now that players will do this weird thing. Okay, cool. I think one of the options lets you in Enhanced lets you turn yourself into a starship creature. Oh, okay, I'm there. Let's do that.
No, if you give me the chance to do something stupid, I will 100% do it every single time. Patrick can attest to that.
He's not lying.
I will. I love that kind of stuff.
I think
it's what these games are made for.
It's a fun system to work in, and it's a fun system to play in. And it is always my favorite to get to dive into adventures, either as an author or as a developer or whatever side of the development pipeline I'm on, or as a player. Some of my favorite adventures I've ever played are some really weird Starfinder Society scenarios and stuff like that, especially from season 1, because it was the first time we were doing those kind of things, right? Like, it's just fun. Like, I'm always excited to see what other people come up with, so we can like do even wilder things.
That's really exciting to hear, because that's my favorite moments in Starfinder is when it just gets wild and crazy, and I felt like I went on an actual sci-fi adventure, and it makes me so happy.
Yeah, anytime we can surprise someone, right? Like, there's so many media things we pull from, so many tropes, so many everything, and like when you're doing a fantasy setting, that comes with a lot of legacy stuff and some baggage too, right? And sci-fi, of course, has its own baggage and luggage and things we pull from everywhere, but like Starfinder somehow manages to be like surprising and different, and anytime that we can make it more surprising is just always so rewarding.
Well, in Pathfinder, you can't enter the drift, right? So in Starfinder, you can end up anywhere. In Pathfinder, you're probably going to
travel.
You're gonna end up somewhere where there's like 500 years of politics already established, like everywhere you go.
And there's a balance to that too, right? Like, one of the things we really are trying to do, especially in the new edition, is, Starfinder First Edition did such a good job of like putting all of these building blocks everywhere, right? Yeah. And like, certainly we could keep going and adding new building blocks, and we want to do that, and we will be doing that. But also, we want to take some of these things we've thrown out there and like give them some depth, like really dive into them. One of the most, I think, rewarding creative talks we've had was like, okay, second edition, let's go through all the packed worlds and see what's going on with them and what we can do with them. Let's take a look at near space and see what's going on there. Let's take a look at our deities. Let's take a look at the vast, and just like throw ideas at the wall. And some of the ideas that we have thrown to the wall have been like, yeah, let's do that. Like, let's shake things up. Like, our core deities in SF2 are going to be different. They're not you've already heard of Zon Shalin. What's that about? Yeah. Who knows?
I have the visual of someone picking up a building block and going, oh, there's a basement under that? Oh.
We're building basements. That's that second edition tagline. Building basements. It's like, the
Zoe's Excellent Adventure.
Wayland Yutani building better worlds, building better basements.
This is an extremely important question that I would be remiss not to ask before Patrick wraps things up. Are there going to be bathrooms in Starfinder Second Edition?
Okay. I'm the person in charge of flip maps now.
Oh yeah,
I work very closely with Jessica on these, because flip maps serve an important, necessary need.
Oh, absolutely.
In organized play.
So do bathrooms.
Yeah,
Bathrooms often do not. Bathrooms are cool and fun in some situations, but let me tell you, when you write for organized play and decide to use a map with a bathroom, you have to account for that very small paragraph that's like area A13 bathrooms, and then you put a little like line of text in there that's like, the pristine stalls here are pristine. Period, space, next line. No, it's certainly we'll have bathrooms and stuff where it matters. Like, I don't think if we do a starship, we're not going to have bathrooms. We might actually do our due diligence and scale them to large sized creatures, because that's always awkward to see on a map.
Yeah, right.
We have famously had a bathroom battle in our first season.
Of course.
There's you could go the route of the Fifth Element, where it's a shower and a bathroom. It's like all in one level, so you only have to draw one thing and then describe it. It's like, it's a 3-in-1. Like they got those everywhere in Starfinder now.
It doesn't use water. It uses sonic vibration.
You don't know how to use the 3 seashells.
There's a reference. Oh man!
When I was doing maps for Redshift Rally, one of the things that when I was doing all my art notes and all that kind of stuff, I was like, hey, please make sure some of these chairs fit large people. I want 10-foot wide chairs for my large size characters to sit in. Please make sure at least half the bathrooms, if you're doing bathrooms, could fit a large person in it. That'd be really nice. Please do this.
Yeah.
I pulled it up and there it is. There's like 4 small bathrooms and then 2 really, really big ones. I like
You're
it.
welcome.
Excellent.
Yeah, as someone who played an uplifted bear in our second season, I could not go anywhere. And
Squeeze rules. Here we go.
Look 'em up every
Starfinder.
episode.
Building better bathrooms.
Not ADA compliant with
it wasn't just bathrooms.
with
I
all
couldn't go in
sizes.
hallways sometimes.
I feel like
That's
the
true.
opposite would be worse if you're like a tiny creature and you're just in like a Lilliputian style world where you have to deal with.
No. Being a tiny creature is great because when I played Araxolite, I got to avoid the whole death march that you set up, Patrick, in the swarm thing. I got to hop on someone's shoulders and just ride that whole thing to the end.
There's perks, definitely. There's perks. Well, Jessica Thirsty, thank you for having us on Cosmic Crit.
You're welcome. We're gonna do the outro. I'll let our guests speak first. Yeah.
Yes. We really appreciated you guys coming on, and I mean it's a long road. You got, like you said, like 2 full years before we can even see a core rule book, probably. But we are here on the podcast, obviously super invested, super excited. We were getting ready to wind down on Starfinder First Edition with this, like the longest season we've ever done of the podcast, and I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do after this. It's probably going to be Starfinder Second Edition.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
It should be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we're going to have some real cool stories to tell. Oh, just wait. Just if you think the first edition's had some stuff, second edition's looking to be pretty explosively big.
Oh boy. You can't tease us like that.
I can.
Gotta
it's my
give
show.
Us,
That's true.
That's right. Yeah. Hosts can tease as much as
That's
they
right.
want. That's the rules. Right. So if people want to contact you folks about second edition or get involved in the process and tell you how to do your job, where can they find you online, or where can they submit ideas to the playtest system?
If you just asked me that question, I would say don't. No.
Exactly.
If you want to get involved, you can go to starfinderplaytest.com.
Yes.
Or you can harass Thurston on social media and send him all kinds of questions, and he will answer them for you, but I will not.
I don't think you use social media. Is that right? I've never seen you post anything.
Never.
It's so weird.
I didn't post an awful picture of a Skittermander with the defibrillator mouth from The Thing on my Twitter today.
Mouth.
If you're seriously looking to connect, though, you can find me on Twitter and most other things at D20 Diaries.
Oh, and last question, is Captain Concierge just the new Starfinder mascot now? People, the community has accepted him as the mouthpiece for
Excellent.
Yeah, is that going to be the entire field test? Is Concierge
absolutely
taking us through? Good.
Captain Concierge is going to be a little bit of a buddy who's going to give us some interesting tidbits, and it's important, right?
We're going to need more art, is what I'm saying. Captain Concierge.
I'd like to see next time Thurston has to show up and talk about something at like the next PaizoCon. I want to see Thurston in a Captain Concierge mask at minimum.
Oh,
we got a little like
we'll
naval outfit and everything.
Yeah, and I want the hat.
Start growing out your mutton chops. We need. We need some more fur.
I'm working on it. Hi, Thurston Hillman, managing creative director for Starfinder. I'm super professional. You can find me on all the things at On Call GM. I also am part of the Narrative Declaration show. Competing show on a show. No, we don't compete at all.
Got his mic.
Yeah, I know. We do a Pathfinder Second Edition game, which I GM for in my spare time, so you can go check out my GMing style there. Otherwise, I'm talking all the things Starfinder, whether it's on the tweeters, the blue skies, the Paizo forums, the subreddits, the everywhere. Oh God, StarfinderPlaytest.com, StarfinderPlaytest.com, StarfinderPlaytest.com. We need your help. Please help us. Okay.
Seth, Myles, thank you guys for being here. I mean, I have to like I said, temper my excitement because it's such a long haul, but every time I open up something about second edition, I just get more and more ideas and more excited for what's to come. That's gonna do it. Thank you once again. Thank you, Thirsty and Jessica, for having us. And maybe you guys can come back and talk more about Starfinder Second Edition sometimes. I don't know. Maybe
Very
when,
nice.
when there's more to
Okay.
spoil, perhaps.
Or perhaps, when we have a demo and we can get some people on your show to play some characters and actually play the game.
They probably wouldn't want to do that.
That's fair. Yeah,
I'll bring it
seems
up.
boring. Not unless everyone could be an operative. I get it.
No, five operatives going to town. All right, that's gonna do it. Thank you guys for being here, and we will catch you on next week's episode of Cosmic Crits. Goodbye, everybody. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
You've been listening to Cosmic Crit, an officially licensed partner of Paizo Incorporated. The Starfinder role-playing game and adventure paths are trademarks of Paizo. All Pathfinder and Starfinder images are property of Paizo and are used with permission.